Question now arises upon final reading and adoption of HCR 40. Representative Roblan.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Before I get started, I would want to acknowledge that over on the side aisle we have some family members, and I just want to introduce them. They can stand for a second, and then afterwards, if people want to go,
Representative, excuse me. If we could have everyone's attention for the first few minutes of the chamber. I know we all have a lot of business. We have special guests today. Thank you. Representative?
So we have Noah Hall, who is the son of Nikki Whitty. Noah, you can stand so people know who you are. And we have two of Jim's children, Molly Ford and Jim Whitty III. So it is a true privilege today to stand here and talk a little bit about a woman who was instrumental in our community over the last number of years, and instrumental in this building long before I got here. But even before that, when we had the memorial service for Nikki a few weeks ago, there were some amazing stories. And I thought that sometimes it's important for people to understand a little bit about people. So I'm going to paraphrase a number of the stories. I talked to Noah and said, is it okay if I share some of these? Because Noah shared some stories which truly put a different light to me about Nikki. Nikki grew up in a small town and had a best friend, and they left and went to the big city of San Diego. And they were looking around for a place, and they found an apartment building that was brand new, first of the towers going up. And they got this nice apartment on the first floor right next to the swimming pool. And the manager came to the two women and said, we're trying to fill up the building. Do you think it would be possible for you to lounge around the pool in bikinis, and we'll pay you a little bit extra for that? And she said, of course. So Nikki was one of those people who is an amazingly hard worker. Got a job instantly working in the banking and escrow and I guess a lot of different financial institution stuff in San Diego, and eventually decided to move to Oregon. And she was working for a bank in Newport when there was an organization that was starting to get formed. The Embarcadero, I think people have been there. It's a resort. Some people ended up trying to get that going, and the manager and owner, basically, Clyde Hemstreet, said that they said, you know, you have a really good property, you have a really good plan, but you need organization. So I have a person you need to hire. And he said, I need to hire. And he said, well, if you want the bank to loan you money and you want to have a project, you need to hire her. And so they introduced Nikki Whitty. He mentioned that he thought this was going to be some spinster who was going to come over and kind of tell him what to do. And so this young woman shows up, and he's kind of amazed. And they start having this conversation. He sees, wow, she really does know her stuff. This is pretty cool. But she starts saying, here's how much money you need to pay me. And he's looking, I don't know if what? Why is she telling me how much money I need to pay her? But he said, the bank told me I had to hire her, so I hired her. And he said it was the single best thing he ever did in his business, because she took very difficult times when he got all these investors. They were starting to build. It was almost done, but they were going to run over their contract. They were not going to finish it in time, and these investors could pull out. And he was very worried because gas prices had just gone back up, and he was worried people weren't going to come. Nikki said, oh, this is a great time. What we need to do is have a party. Nikki could make a party happen. And she said, we need to invite all the investors down here. We need to show them what we've got in the property. Once they see this place, they're going to stay with us. And sure enough, they had the party, which he couldn't believe he was having. People came down, saw the properties, understood. Not a single investor left. The Embarcadero is doing well to this day. And to show Nikki again, and her son at the time, because now he's involved in the story, the next part of her life, we have John Brenman running for state, I think it was senator, and so he comes up to tell his story about he's not doing well. He really doesn't know what to do. He's going to things, but he doesn't know what to do. And he ends up having Mr. Hemstreet say, I've got just the person who needs to help you organize your campaign. So they invite Nikki over, and he has no money, and Nikki does the same thing. Yes, I'll work for you. We're going to make this work. And his story goes on, John's. I found out how to race crabs, how to go to every single meeting around places. Nikki scheduled me day and night. Nikki and Noah walked and made things happen. And he said, And she would also go ahead of time when we had to do the crab races, and she'd pick out the one that could win, because she said, we don't need a loser crab when we're going to do this stuff. And organized that whole campaign. He won. He says, truly because of her, he says, I don't know if we ever had a conversation, but the next thing I know, she's told me that she's coming to Salem with me and she will run my office. He said I didn't know what else to do, so they came to Salem and ran his office. Nikki became, in this building, the person who you turned to if you wanted to get something done. Didn't matter what party, didn't matter whatever, didn't matter who the governor was. They called on Nikki to come together, pull people together, and make things happen. She did that, and eventually she made it happen with Jim Whitty, who she married while they met here, and was his assistant for a while. But when they came back to Coos Bay, Nikki was not done. In fact, she'd just begun. She helped with our economic development area in our area. She probably knows economic development better than anybody in our community. And she ran for, was elected our county commissioner. Nikki is the kind of public servant everybody in every community wishes they had for them. Because every day, and she worked long hours because she loved to work, every day she came with the intention to help her constituents if they had a problem. And it didn't matter where they come from or who they were or what kinds of income they had or didn't have. Nikki was there to make sure that their grievances were heard and that she did whatever she could do to make their lives better. And she did that, and she also had fun. One of the last people to speak was Jim. And he got up to talk about how the first time they met, she came out and tapped him on the shoulder because she loved to dance. And she didn't know why he hadn't asked her to dance yet. And he did. And he said it was unbelievable the first moment they danced together. They made a pair on the floor wherever they went. And it is that kind of total person that we honor today, the kind of person who takes advantage of the moments for themselves to be happy and their loved ones, at the same time takes advantage of the moments that exist to make a difference in their communities, whether they're here at the state or in Coos Bay or Coquille, who never shies away from the responsibility of leadership, who always made the tough choice, bipartisan or other. I think that most people in our county would never know whether she was Republican or Democrat. The issue was she was about Coos County. She represented all of us exceptionally well. We will miss her dearly, and the last time that I saw her was at a funeral for another one of our county commissioners who died just before her, and we'll be talking about on Monday. And she had been suffering for a long time from her cancer, and she was very, very slight. But in that, she had this enthusiasm in her eyes that never changed, that glow from her wheelchair that said, I've got a lot of work to do, I'm going to get it done, nothing is going to stop me. And so it is with a great deal of humility that I encourage each of you to vote for this resolution honoring a great Oregonian and a great member of the Coos County community. So thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to you.